going on in your world. So I won't hold you back. I'll just turn it over and kind of let you take it from there. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Spencer, and it's great to see everybody here. I do have some. I put together some slides. We have an inside joke at work that we're trying to rectify. We say that we're the best kept secret in sustainable agriculture, so we're trying to change that. So I want to, if it's all right, just take a few minutes to introduce who we are and what services we have, and then talk about some of our specific veteran programming, if that's all right.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, bear with me. This is my first time on Zoom, so
okay.
And if you have any time, I'm fairly flexible. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask. It's a pretty good size group for open dialogue, so I appreciate that. If you have anything, please bring it up. So my name is Mike Lewis. My family lives and farms in southeastern Kentucky, Rockcastle County. We have a small diversified farm, and I've been involved in local and sustainable agriculture for a number of years in Kentucky. Previously worked at University of Kentucky in cooperative extension, but now work for the National Center for Appropriate Technology, who I'd like to just take a few minutes to introduce some of the great resources we have. But I like to do this history lesson because I think it's fascinating. So if I'm running long-winded, just throw me the hand sign there. But NCAT was founded in 1976, and since then our mission is to help people build resilient communities through local sustainable solutions that help reduce poverty, strengthen self-reliance, protect natural resources and things like that. We like to say, and we're known as a trusted practical connector for individuals and businesses who are working to essentially leave our world better than we found it. We accomplish this with a trusted knowledge base, and using that knowledge base to provide individual technical assistance. We facilitate the implementation of practical local solutions, and we help connect people with each other to support sustainable agriculture and clean energy systems. We are headquartered in Butte, Montana, but we have field offices all over the country, obviously one in Kentucky now. Interestingly, we were created in the 70s in response to the oil crisis to help develop low-cost energy saving strategies for underserved communities. And in 1987, we actually expanded that. We recognize a sort of intersection between energy and agriculture. And so our mission expanded to include sustainable agriculture. And so I want to talk just a little bit about what we mean when we say appropriate technology. Appropriate technology was really started in the 60s. It was sort of a movement after World War II. It started in the US and Great Britain is where the term came from, but it featured 5 key elements. And those are listed here. They're small scale, simple to use and operate, low cost and labor intensive, local and decentralized, and environmentally sound. This diagram over here, which I'm happy to share these slides with you all so you can digest this later, but it just sort of shows that intersection of how all these things are interconnected. So it's important work. Now, our flagship program and the program that most of us on the agriculture side work on, we're broken up into two divisions. We have an energy division that works on energy, right? Solar, energy conserving programs. And we have an agriculture side, and that is ATRA. And ATRA, this program supports farmers and ranchers, agriculture educators, land managers, all throughout the different phases in their agricultural journey. But what we do is we provide, we're a trusted source of sustainable agriculture information. And we maintain a knowledge base of practical multimedia resources for farmers and ranchers. And that's a lot to say that we have specialists all over the country that provide direct technical assistance to farmers and producers. And we do that through, again, through direct technical assistance, through locating mentors, building networks, peer-to-peer networks, everything from starting a farm to marketing your products. Every year we do, we do this with about 35,000 farmers every year. And this project was created in 1987 through a cooperative agreement with the USDA Rural Development Program. So we are a federal program. And as I've said, ATRA is our flagship program. And if you see our, the website there, you will find, again, thousands of free multimedia educational resources for all sorts of agriculture, everything from conducting a life cycle assessment to organic blueberry production. There'll be resources for that. One of our other programs that is a really interesting one to work in. And that's our Soil for Water program. This is a sort of a free voluntary program that we manage. And this the goal of this is to support farmers and ranchers and land managers to make their soil and land more resilient through what we call like the soil sponge, right? So it's a soil program, but it's focused on making sure the soil is healthy enough for proper infiltration. So when we have these droughts, we're better able to hold nutrients. And this is a free resource if you're grazing or not grazing, or just concerned about this. It is a free forum. It's a free site that you can go on and sign up and get on free educational forums about with some really well-known educators. Dale Strickler just did a big series for us for about 100 farmers. So that's a great resource. We also have another cooperative agreement that we have with the USDA is our Agri-Solar Clearinghouse. This is a nationwide hub that connects businesses and landowners, as well as researchers do a lot of research with the resources and educational material to work on co-located solar and sustainable agriculture programs. Sometimes that's agrivoltaic development. And part of this is, right, this is a huge, it's relatively small here in Kentucky, but it's growing in other places. And I think by the next 10 years, solar installations are expected to be over 3 million acres of land in this country. And a lot of that is farmland. Some of the best spots for those are farmland. So understanding how we can co-locate these and diversify that land use is what that program is about. I jumped right to thank you. I skipped over our Arm to Farm program. Well, this isn't all of the stuff that we do, and I don't even participate in all of the stuff we do. It wouldn't be possible. But one of our programs that we manage is the Arm to Farm program, and this is a week-long veteran beginning farmer business development program. It brings farmers together. It's a small cohort. Each cohort has about 30 participants. They come to a location for a week. We spend about half a day in classrooms, about half the day on farm, learning, or sometimes doing farm projects or helping out community farms or whatever the the need may be. And we get into the nuts and bolts of everything from what's the right legal structure for your farm, to whole farm planning and holistic management. So this program also, there are two other iterations to this week-long program. We also now, because last year we had our 1,000th graduate from the program. As you can imagine, the program is very successful, mostly because of the networks and the connections that the veterans make. It almost forms a community. So there's been a lot of growth, and because of that, we've actually now, I think this year in Kentucky, we're conducting our third 2.0, which is a more advanced farmer training. So, as before, we were doing basic overviews of how to start your farm. In this sort of format, we'll be talking about how to rotation, more specific into specific operations. This one will be talking a lot about pasture management, rotational grazing, and forestry, agroforestry. And then we also do have an urban one, which ironically, both of these are coming up in Kentucky. March 6th through 10th. I can give you the dates of the flyer is just about to come out to Spencer, and so I'll make sure we get that over. But January 6th through 10th, in General Butler State Park, we'll be having our 2.0 in partnership with the Berry Center, and that one will be focused on grazing, land management, and then the Berry Center will be doing a rural leadership development component for that one. And then in September and October, we're doing it's not a full urban armed farm, but we're doing an urban focused the 1.0 in northern Kentucky, likely in Covington. But that's not planned yet. So we have those coming up. That's sort of I know that's a lot, and I feel like I didn't even touch much of what we really do. We've got some cool specialists doing some cool stuff. We do have a hotline. If you go on our website, I think it's one of the, I probably think it's cool because I live in rural Kentucky and I don't have Wi-Fi, so I can't participate, but we do still have a call-in line, a toll-free number that farmers can call, and one of our specialists will answer it. It's kind of old school, but I still like a pen and paper too. So, but that, Spencer, was all I had prepared. I probably just talked way too fast for you, but any questions or comments or complaints?
Yeah, why didn't I hear about you guys 3 years ago?
Yes. Because we're a secret, man. We're a top secret government program.
Oh man, I didn't talk to the right squirrel.
Oh man. Well, I
Some of
mean,
those
it's
things are
still,
right
we
up
still
my
have all
alley.
the same reasons.
Some of those things are right up my alley. I've been doing my own research and digging and trial and error. I'm definitely going to check your site out and see what's out there.
Yeah, and if you have anything, we can, if you have any questions, like I said, I mean, one of the great things about my job is like I know very little. Like I know what I know, and that's my area of focus, but I have 30 other coworkers that are doing all these other things. So we have a pretty big network, and that's one of the cool things about it, is always being able to help somebody, without it being, yeah, here, call my coworker Catherine. That's a lot easier than me sending you a paper, telling you to research. I can send you somebody that did it already and
Yeah.
made all the mistakes, because that's what matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Mike,
So
this
how
is-
does, oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, do you have anything in there? That sounds like it'd be researching half a day just to find what's in there, but everything on hydroponics, do y'all have any focus on hydroponics or aquaponics?
We do, and actually, my coworker Lee, who just retired from the Navy this year, from well, right before the last year, right before the first of this year, he did a long-term research project on aquaponics. We don't have a lot on hydroponics. We get asked a lot, but most of the people that work with us are like soil geeks, and so the hydroponic thing is just not something that that dives in a lot, you know.
Right.
Have you talked to but there's two people that are great with hydroponics. There's Veterans to Farmers in Colorado, Rich Murphy. And then in North Carolina, there's a guy named Robert Elliott. And he actually runs an educational training farm down at Fort Bragg, and they do a lot of hydroponics.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Where was Robert Elliott at? What company was he with?
It's called Veteran Farms of North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm happy to connect you to him, Spencer. He'd come on and he's taught for me before webinars. He's kind of old school, so it's, you know, it's like the camera on the chalkboard, but that's kind of cool sometimes in this digital age.
Yeah. So how, if someone wants to get involved in some of the programs you've got coming up, how do they do that? They just get on the website and reach out to somebody, or?
Yeah, when you jump right on that website, that we have a mailing list. It's not a very intrusive mailing list. I think, you know, we send out a weekly newsletter that actually, I mean, I even read our newsletter. I never used to do that at UK. Yeah, so you can sign up for that, and all of these things are posted in there. And then of course, when we start doing veteran specific stuff, I can point that right towards you all as well. One other thing, I don't know what you guys are producing, but we're partners on one of these big climate smart ag grants. And Kentucky is one of our target regions. So if you're trying to produce regenerative or focus on carbon capture, there may be some opportunity for some cost shares and offsets for participating in some of these programs. I can't tell you what this look like right now because we don't have a contract. So, but
Okay.
you know, it's basically the type of thing where if a farmer is wanting to implement a carbon cap, like say Chris and Mike want to put in a riparian buffer, and start trying to quantify the carbon of that so they can put it in some of these climate beneficial marketplaces that are starting to pop up, then we would have the capacity to come in and help create a carbon plan for that implementation process, and then have cost share money to offset the implementation of that practice.
So I know enough about this carbon stuff to be dangerous, but
Well, you should work for the USDA then.
yeah. It seems like that all these carbon companies, like and I'll use myself as an example. I'm just curious how this program works, because like we've been doing you know, our row crops are on a no-till basis, and we do cover crops every fall. And my understanding is, at least on the row crop side, if you wanted to do anything in the carbon market, the only way you can get paid is to go from like no-till to, or go from tillage to no-till, or go from no-till to using cover crops. But if you're already doing those things, then there's really no way to get paid for the carbon that you're capturing. Is that, like, do you all have any experience with that?
I mean, I joke when I say that you could, by saying you could be in charge, because it seems like nobody really fully understands what, you know. I mean, I wasn't poking fun at the USDA. I was just saying that the whole thing is very confusing. And then what is that carbon that you've captured worth? Because at that point, it's not below ground, right? I mean, it's just carbon laying on the ground, still susceptible to the weather. So it's not captured carbon, you know. And so
Right.
does that become an offset? You know, but I mean, there are things that we see, things that have tremendous potential, right? I mean, agroforestry, silvopasture, riparian buffers have a huge long-term carbon capturing impact, and that's below and above ground. And those things are well suited for Kentucky. I think it gets a lot more complex on the row crop side for me, because there's still a massive input. And if you're really going to be equitable and start doing a life cycle assessment, and I don't see how, I'm with you, I don't see how there's a huge carbon benefit to be had with row crops, unless you're farming 10,000 acres, and then $25 an acre that's a big deal. But to somebody like me, $25 an acre is, I probably don't even want to do the paperwork, you know.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But it is, we actually, we do, I mean, I guess this, how public is this? We just finished a huge, it was actually a really cool project. I had about 8 coworkers, and we developed an entire series of educational deliverables specifically around climate smart agriculture, climate carbon markets, and just the whole thing, sort of trying to unpack the whole thing to make it digestible, because it's really confusing.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is, you know, because it's, well, I don't know why. Because it seems like everybody's trying to get their fingers into it, and that's when it gets confusing. If you think of it just as a straight transaction, it's really simple. But when you start adding brokers and specific banks and stuff like that, the thought process is just start to get so complex that it's hard to follow.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. All the people I've talked to about it, you know, you go to these presentations and listen to them talk, and then go up and ask questions later, and you see that there's not really much beyond the PowerPoint, you know.
No,
So,
and it, you know, and then you know, well, no, I don't want to get into that. But I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, it's good. I mean, I think that the downside is that, like, the downside or the upside to this is that regardless of what's happening with the market, we're finding ways to incentivize farmers to farm better, to protect themselves and to protect their land for whatever's coming weather-wise. And I worry that all of this speculation on how much money we're going to make may just devalue the fact that this is an opportunity and the time for us to do a lot of really good work for, you know, I just don't want it to get the good work to get caught up with the market schemes, you know.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah. I'll be excited to see that whenever that's all those publications are public, because that'll be pretty interesting stuff. So,
well, I'll make sure we get this to you too. We're having a climate conference as well, that's just free. But that's over 4 weeks, so it's like 2 days a week, like 3-hour sessions. And they've got some really solid speakers lined up. And all of that information will sort of be presented there. We got it done just in time Because it is confusing, you know, how do you talk to a farmer about something that we as a staff all look at differently and everybody sees it differently because it's confusing.
Yep. I agree.
It's not farming, that's for sure. Well, it's
No.
easy on the farmer side. You're just growing another crop, but how it gets monetized, that's where it gets tricky.
Yep.
And then can you get paid enough for it? What's a ton of coal? $400?
Depends. It could be 600.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying $18 to $36 for a ton of carbon. I mean, that doesn't seem get it up to that 400 or 600 of coal, and farmers will start participating, you know.
Yeah, I'd get a lot more people's attention for sure if you get to numbers like that.
We'd all be figuring it out real quick.
That's right.
But I mean, they're pretty close to the same thing, you know. I mean, one's just older than the other.
Whether the ton of carbon, you're not giving it away anymore. You're keeping it.
Yeah. Well, no, that's where you have to sell it.
Yeah, you
That's
sell
where
it.
it gets interesting.
It doesn't produce energy or anything.
Yeah, no, but then you don't. But then it's weird because you sold something that's still, you know, technically in the ground or environment of your farm, but somebody else owns it.
Yep.
You know, it's like some of these tree programs where they'll pay you for your trees, but you know, they own your trees for 30 years. Because that's how they're monetizing the carbon.
Yep.
And what if I have a heart attack and my kid decides he wants to put in a trailer park? He can't do it, you know? So dad was out of his mind. I'm going into real estate. He can't do it.
A lot of people in their 20s and 30s are really upset that dad sold their coal reserves too. Sold the rights to the coal reserves.
So, what are you guys farming right now? I know you're doing bees. Like I tell you, I know nothing about bees.
Yeah, I do small scale honeybees, fruits, vegetables. I got a lot of berries, blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, and then lettuce, carrots, kale, you know, the kind of thing.
Nice. And where are you at?
I'm in Lebanon, Marion County, Central Kentucky.
Oh, I know where that is. Very nice. I went to school in Springfield.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Shut that place down. No, it wasn't me. Just playing. And where are you at, Mike?
I'm in Clark County, in between Winchester, Mount Sterling area, but I'm trying to get my farm off the ground, but I'm indoor. I'm doing an indoor hydroponic farm, and it'll be mainly leafy greens is what I've got set up for. I'm getting closer, Spencer. Every day I've got my little propagation chamber built, my nursery set up, and I've got the water and everything running, and now I've got to get enough nerve to do the first planting.
So you're just doing float beds, or what are you using for production?
I'm doing vertical. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called Zip Grow, and it's the towers, the vertical towers, 8-foot towers. And I've got 260 of them set up. It's pretty good size. I should be able to do around 300 pounds of lettuce a week when I'm up and running full production, if I ever get there.
Is it going to be like, are you thinking romaine, or is there going to be head lettuce or specialty greens, or?
You know, since it's towers, I'm going to try to focus on the miniature heads, but I'm looking at I'm thinking romaines and some salvavella and stuff like that. Got big idea. I'm set up. It's the farm set up. It just, I'm working full time. It's hard to get the time to do anything.
Yeah, no doubt. Have you looked at do you shop at Johnny's Seeds?
Yeah, that's where I normally get my stuff.
Oh, okay, good. I was gonna say their little mini heads seem to be one of the best liked for hydroponic lettuce operations.
Yeah, that's what I've got ready to go. Just like I say, It's kind of like the dog caught the car. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do just yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can automate that thing. I mean, get you one of those fancy doohickeys that fires it over to your smartphone.
I've got one. I just can't figure out how to crank it up. It's got the pumps and you know, controls and everything. You know, that's computer control and I just
Okay.
I bought it out of Kansas City. I got into it and I just haven't got up and running yet. But it's indoor. I've got the building for it. I really all I need to do is do my first planting.
That's exciting.
No, it's scary because I don't know what I'm gonna do with it after I plant it.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, you'll be down at the Lexington Farmers Market.
I played with it when I got the idea when I was working in West Virginia and had a small scale and I'd go out after dark and leave lettuce on my neighbors' porches and run. I didn't know what to do with it.
It'll make the national news with that one. The Mount Sterling lettuce bandit.
Well, you're gonna have to get planting, Mike, because I did read an article that there was a list of like top 8 things that are going to be in shortage for 2023, and one of the things listed was lettuce specifically, according to whom the hell ever. But you know, so they say.
App Harvest is getting their lettuce off the ground and they say they're going to have the capacity, that 15-acre greenhouse to do the equivalent of 10-mile row of lettuce a day.
Sure.
That's what the governor said today. So I don't know if there's any hope of me getting it off the ground. Yeah, they had an announcement, but they also had an announcement about 2 weeks ago that they're not sure they're going to have enough money to operate into next year. So we'll see where that is as well.
Yeah. So far I'm finding there's always a little room for the little guy to wiggle.
I hope so. But yeah, I want to get her going. I mean, it's the right idea. Like I say, I don't have to go outside, so climate control and everything. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
You got to get into some of those hospitals and schools.
That's what I'm thinking. Hospitals and schools and thinking about assisted living place, you know, those homes.
Are
stuff like that.
you connected to any of the farm to school stuff here in Kentucky?
Been sitting in some stuff with Spencer and those guys. I'm very much interested. If I can make, you know, I'm worried that if they're spending $362 and only a third of it's for food for a lunch, I'm not sure there's much room for a $2 or $3 head of lettuce in there though.
Yeah, well, that's the other piece, I guess. But maybe then that's room for kale, because kale goes a long way with little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But the hospitals now, I mean, you know, hospitals. And then have you thought about checking with the VA as well?
Yep, that's on my list. And
Okay, because you can get, I'm sure, well, you're working with K-Card anyway, so you're in good shape, but you can get a preferred vendor status with them.
yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And what do you produce, Mike Lewis?
You know, a lot of weeds this year.
Got some of those.
We raise poultry, and then we have forest-based pastured hogs, and then we do you know, a small market garden, about a half an acre market garden, and then corn and beans.
Gotcha.
Cut flowers, just whatever the kids feel like doing. So yeah, we just pluck around. I wish I could do it more, but children in school are expensive, so I gotta have a job still.
Yeah.
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 You say you're at Mount Vernon? Is that where you're at?
Yes, I like to claim Livingston, but I'll go with Mount Vernon. I'm hoping they annex me.
Okay,
But,
got a guy who works for me that lives down that area.
oh, nice.
He drives to Lexington, so he must like it.
Well, it's still quiet most
Yeah.
nights.
So I dropped in the chat. We have a couple links for Department of Ag's Farm to School program. Mike, if you want to learn more, we have some staff that just do that full time, so they can help facilitate if you're interested.
Okay. Sounds good. I appreciate it. I sit in on the farm to school a couple weeks ago. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
couple-
it's a cool market to tap into. And I'm sure you've heard David Neville talk about it as well with his hot dogs that he does to
Right.
Jefferson County, but that's a good example of you know, they're always gonna need to order. So that's a cool market to tap in.
Yeah, I just, when I saw the prices that he had on there, you know, or what I guess you had on there, there's not a whole lot of room for food in there. If 2/3 of it is going for administration and labor, and about 1/3 of it is going for food or for the product.
Well, I mean, Mike, if I'll say this, you're right, you're absolutely right. But secondarily, there's all kinds of options with farm to school, and I have I'm actually tomorrow leaving to do a farm to school training in Illinois. And sometimes it's not as much about getting the money, but maybe participating in one of those days where they do buy 10 heads of lettuce there for the school, and you go into the school and stand there while they serve the lettuce and talk about your farm. And I mean, that in our experience, that opportunity means that the kids are going to recognize you, and it starts to build that sort of community recognition, and it gets you in the door. So I guess don't always think about the farm to school specifically as a short-term market, but for also helping to build a long-term customer base for your operation.
Right, I understand. I totally agree. And for the record, Georgia's up 10-7 or 10-0.
Are you watching squash? The squash world championships over there?
Yeah, I got Georgia and TCU on in the background. I'm in a hotel room, so I got to do something, right?
Right. So do you sell mostly at farmers markets, or where are you selling into, Chris?
A little bit of everything. I've kind of got my toes wet in several different things. I tried a CSA, and that went okay, not as good as I'd hoped, but the people that were part of it loved it. My local farmers market a little bit as well. And then I sell some to Market Wagon, which is an online farmers market. So far they're in Louisville and Lexington, so it does mean the drive, but it's not a bad gig. I mean, you just put on there what your inventory is expected to be that week. People place their orders, you prepare the orders, and you drop them off at basically a warehouse distribution center. So it's a quick turn and burn. I mean, I'm loaded up, I'm back home by lunch, and dropped off the week's orders. So that's a pretty good gig. And then I started my own weekly offering, where I'm kind of morphing the CSA into this, where I use the same concept, send a text or an email with what I'm going to have available the upcoming week, and people can place orders there and either pick it up for free at the farmer's market or pay a $5 delivery fee. And people seem to like that quite well too. The major issue I have at the moment is keeping enough product consistently enough to maintain interest. And I'm getting there. Every year is a little better than the one before. but it's that's the uphill struggle.
And so are you farming full time now? Is that what
Yeah,
you're doing?
yeah, I retired from the military, and yeah, this is what I do.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I've got kind of like you at home. I've got a little 1/2 acre market garden size. My dad has some land a few miles from me, and that's a couple acres there. But this season I'm going to have to step back because it's just overrun with Johnson grass. So this season I'm just cultivating every 2 weeks, you know, over and over and over. And because I refuse to spray, and that's the only way I know to get rid of it. But it sacrifices the whole season. So there's a whole season of 2 acres that are doing nothing but fighting Johnson grass.
Napalm. No, we have a publication on our website on biosolarization.
Biosolars with
for
plastics. Is that pulling plastics over the fields?
Yeah, so you might want to check out that publication because I think there's some that might be easier than cultivating. Might not be as pretty for the neighbors for 12 to 14 months, but or
Yeah.
however long however long they recommend. But
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Any idea is a good idea to just explore anyway. But yeah, I'm excited though. It's like I said, every year it grows a little bit more. And I'm definitely, bootstrapping it solo, no employees, very small scale, no loans, just getting out there and getting it done. Whatever gets done is on me. Whatever doesn't get done is on me too.
sometimes that's the best way.
I don't know if y'all can hear you, but I share.
That's not me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We lost him.
Oh, I think we lost him. Yeah, I was having a hard time hearing him there.
All right, well, I'm gonna run, but thanks for the presentation, Mike Lewis. Appreciate it. I'll definitely check out the website. Like I said,
Yeah, if you need
like
any
I
help,
built
give me a shout.
I built a passive solar greenhouse. Half of
Sweet.
one anyway. I don't have the hardened walls on the back and the insulation yet, but I was looking around at the University of Kentucky for ideas and trying to, see what information they had on it. And they kept trying to, tell me about solar panels. I was like, no, not powering it with solar, passive solar. Anyway, I don't think they knew what I was talking about. But it's all good. It's all good. But I did find some good information from the University of Vermont. They had a pretty pretty good thing on it. Do you know if you guys
It's
have
kind of
any
crazy.
in particular?
What's that?
Do you guys have anything on passive solar in particular? Do you know of?
You know what? I'm gonna bet we do we have a huge archive. I know we have I don't even remember what it's called, but it's sort of underground.
Yeah, the wall of Peony. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we have one of those in there, but I couldn't tell you for sure. I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
I'm certain there is, but
You just gave me the rest of my winter's reading.
I mean, there's some neat stuff in there. I'm not gonna lie. I get caught. I've got 2 of them over here. I'm guilty. But yeah, and if you ever need any of them, I have I have a bunch of them printed out as well. And just because you've been farming doesn't, that doesn't preclude you from applying to the 1.0 that we're doing in Kentucky.
Okay.
And there'll be a preference. We always give the first preference to people from Kentucky because we're, from the state that we're in.
Mhm.
And because we usually have a lot of applicants, we like to keep, so I mean, no matter where you are, I mean, it's, you're still going to get something out of it's just called the 1.0.
Yeah.
So just because you've been farming, don't feel like that means you can't apply to that 1.0. You can't apply to the 2.0 because the 1.0 is a prerequisite. But it's pretty neat. They give you, well, you said you don't do loans, but they, are when you get done for the week, they give you a certificate, which, helps you with USDA or FSA loans or government programs and stuff like that.
They have their requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've met the core competencies, a hard test.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if I can do anything, give me a shout. It's my job. So I'm happy to help.
Will do. Yeah, I'll definitely consider that 1.0. I agree. I mean, I learned things when I just visited a neighbor's farm, no matter what conversation I'm having with anybody about farming, I always learn something from somebody.
We started doing these new types of meetings that are like educational things that are there. It's called open space, where it's like we don't even really have an agenda, and like we don't even talk, because I realized last year that 80% of everything I have knowledge that I share with other farmers is something I learned out on a farm helping somebody else solve that I learned from a farmer.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why am I teaching this? You guys are teaching each other. I should be listening,
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, and it's a great time. I mean, it's 30 people, not to give you the sales pitch, but
Yeah.
that's good. The whole thing's free. So if you can get away from the farm for a week,
Yeah.
you get a ton of books. I think you get like 12 or 14 books if you're a book nerd.
Cool.
Wow.
Me. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. Y'all have a good evening, and catch up with you.
Sounds good. Take care, Chris.
All right. Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Yeah. See you, Allie.